Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for standing by. Welcome to the BlackBerry Enterprise Products and Services webinar. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. Should you wish to ask a question during the presentation, please use the chat feature located in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. If you need to reach an operator at any time, please press *0. As a reminder, this conference is being recorded Wednesday, January 28, 2015. I would now like to turn the conference over to Mr. Bernard, Principal Analyst at BlackBerry. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. And hi to everybody that's joining us from around the world for one of our next webinars. As you just heard, today's topic is going to be BlackBerry Enterprise Products and Services. This is something that I'm very excited about. I know that many of you are and will be too. So without further ado, let's just dig right into it. This is the agenda that I'm going to go through today. I'm going to start with BlackBerry version 2.0, which is really just a little bit of a statement that I wanted to put in personally about where we are today and how we're being viewed and how we're positioning ourselves. And then we'll dig right into the meat of today's webcast, which is basically all of the different enterprise products and services that are new that we're coming out with. Either we've already announced these or we're planning to give you more information about them or, something to that effect. So we'll start by talking about WorkLife by BlackBerry and then move into talking about BlackBerry Blend and also enterprise identity, which is closely related. And then we'll also talk about SecuSUITE for BlackBerry 10, VPN Auth, and then we'll end off by talking about BBM Protected, BBM Meetings, and then a few reminders that I wanted to give you about some things that I think you should know. As per usual, we're going to end off the webcast with some live questions from you. So as the moderator informed you of just a few moments ago, you can use the chat functionality that you have in your interface there to send me some questions. I will grab a bunch of them out of the queue. I'll answer a bunch of them at the end. And then, as per normal, we'll conclude. Okay, so I'm going to try to get it in about an hour for the webcast itself, and then I'll take a few minutes after the webcast to do the Q&A. Hopefully that sounds good. Let's get started. Now, when I mentioned talking about BlackBerry 2.0, what I'm really referring to is that BlackBerry is not a hardware company anymore. Previously, we were really positioning ourselves as, a BlackBerry branded company. We started off as Research in Motion and then ended up branding ourselves as BlackBerry because the device itself was so prominent in what we were offering. But that's no longer the case. As many of you are, I'm sure, aware, we've morphed into a different BlackBerry in recent years. So BlackBerry now is something a little bit more than just a hardware company. We have a lot of software services and things like that I wanted to dig into today. Some of them have already been announced and released. Some of them have only been announced and not released. But I'm going to dig into, what each of them means to you, what the value you can extract out of each one is, and just some good-to-know information about each one of them, just so that you get a good overview, and then you can speak intelligently about it if you need to, talk to your management or talk to anybody else about what you're wanting to try in our portfolio. So to give you a quick overview, everything in the value-added services that I'm going to talk about today, we're talking about everything from ultra-secure communication and collaboration with BBM and some really cool things that we're doing with that product, to going to VPN and how you're connecting into your office while you're remote. And like I said, I wanted to give you a brief overview of each one just so that you get a good understanding of where we're at with each one of them. So again, these are the ones that I'm going to talk about during today's presentation: WorkLife by BlackBerry, BlackBerry Blend, Enterprise Identity by BlackBerry, SecuSUITE for BlackBerry 10, VPN Authentication by BlackBerry, BBM Protected, and lastly, BBM Meetings. So let's start by talking about WorkLife by BlackBerry. What does this mean? So WorkLife by BlackBerry is basically the concept of having one device but two billing personalities on that device. And the way that that's achieved is by some new technology that we've recently acquired through some acquisitions and some other stuff that we've worked on before that acquisition. So basically, WorkLife by BlackBerry isn't just split billing. I know a lot of people are understanding it that way, but it's really a lot more than that. It's really a new way to manage telecom for your users. So basically what you're doing is you're going to have your user with their one device, but with our new technology, it's for all intents and purposes a virtual SIM technology. You're going to be able to better control your company's assets as far as your users being able to have a work billing side of the device and a personal billing side of the device. And it's very easy. It basically distinguishes between your work use and your personal use. That's just the way the technology works. You can use it on any platform, so it's not something that is just inherently built into BlackBerry 10. We've actually we've designed it and worked with our partner in such a way that it's going to be available on all of the platforms that we support on BES. So iPhone, Android, and BlackBerry, and in short order, Windows Phone as well. And basically what you have to do is, through setting up the technology, you're adding a separate corporate phone line to a personal device. And basically what happens there is the enterprise, because of how the technology works and how everything is sort of split off, the enterprise can become responsible for managing the enterprise costs of the enterprise phone line, while the user still retains the ability to have a personal line on the same device that they get billed to themselves. Okay, so this solves one of the problems that I know a lot of you are dealing with or have dealt with, and this is where people bring their own devices to work through the whole BYOD movement. How does billing really work? Because in current technology, outside of what we're doing here, you have a single device, but you have a single SIM. So when somebody's doing work calling and personal calling and all of that stuff, it then becomes a little bit of a challenge, or a lot of a challenge rather, to figure out which calls are for work, which ones are for personal use, and then how do you split that off so that the company is only reimbursing the stuff that applies to them, and the company is not expensing, you know, the 1 hour long call that you had with your sister in Guatemala or something. So basically this is a really good thing for the industry. We're getting a lot of good positive buzz about it, and customers are really excited about it. To give you some more information about it, we understand the challenges that you have. I talked about a couple of them already. One of them is just, you know, the billing for work and private calls, but there's more than that. So there's lack of control over work-related phone numbers, right? So if somebody brings their own device into work, they already have an established phone number and all of that. Maybe the enterprise wants more control over what numbers are assigned as work numbers. Again, there's also complicated billing agreements that some of these enterprises and some of the personal users have with their service providers. So billing is not only a problem in the physical sense of how do we separate what's already been consolidated for this device. It's also, you know, who's getting the bill, who does the bill go to, and that sort of thing, right? If it's a personal use device that is being brought in to the corporate environment, the way it stands today is that usually it's the user themselves that's getting the bill, right? Because it's their phone, they're bringing it in for work use, but it's their phone, right? So the company is not the one that's getting that bill, it's the user, and then the user has to submit it to the company to get expenses done and that sort of thing. So there's some complicated billing there. There's some procedures that might be complicated around getting your expenses reimbursed and things like that. There may also be some tax consequences that are related with that as well, that the company has to account for and that you may have to account for. So in short, there's a lot of challenges there, and we understand what they are because we've talked to a lot of people in the industry. We've dealt with a lot of you over many, many, many years, and we know uniquely what your challenges are. So here are the ways that we are going to solve these problems with the WorkLife product by BlackBerry. So the first thing that you're going to get through implementation of this technology is cost-effective split billing for work calls, data, and messaging. So like I said, because we understand the challenges so well, we know that you're not only looking for separation of work calls, right? Work calls aren't the only problem area when it comes to split billing. There's data splitting, there's messaging splitting. We want to make sure that the things that we're understanding that we need to split are very closely interrelated to what you're getting billed for. So we're not only going to do it for phone calls, we're going to do it for data and messaging. Secondly, IP policies and controls for corporate phone numbers. So we know that when you're running in a BES environment and you're trying to manage your mobile workforce, you don't want to just put out a technology for users to use. Some of you may want to do that, but most of you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to put out that technology, but you want to have some control over how it operates. And one of the mechanisms that we've had over time to help you do that is the implementation of IT policies in the BES. So when you apply WorkLife by BlackBerry into your environment, you're also going to have a set of associated IT policies on the BES that you can configure, and that's going to give you some control over how things are actually running, what the behavior is on the end user's device. Next, there's going to be no third-party vendors that manage billing, okay, because you're implementing something that stays in-house. And that means that all of the billing is going to go in-house for you to route and manage from that point. There's not going to be a third-party vendor that has to act as some type of intermediary or something like that. Employees can easily switch between work and personal on the device. It's not complicated. For any of you who are already familiar with using a BlackBerry 10 device, you already know the concept of balance, which allows you to just flip-flop back and forth between the different personal and workspaces of the device. It's going to be a very similar concept as far as the simplicity goes. So a user is going to be very, very aware of when they're in the interface to make a work call or use work data, and when they're in the interface to use it for personal calls or personal data. I mentioned a short while ago that it's also cross-platform, so it's not something that's exclusive to BlackBerry as well. We know that you're supporting, obviously, more than BlackBerry in your workplace. We want to make sure that the solution we're giving you can be used for the other devices that you're supporting as well. So you're going to be able to use this, split billing, split personality technology on iOS and Android as well. Okay? Windows Phone is going to be coming as well, but for now it's going to be iOS and Android. So some other things that you may want to be aware of as far as this solution is concerned. Basically, WorkLife is going to allow IT to manage the numbers that belong to the company. So again, through how the solution is implemented and configured, it's going to give you the ability and the latitude to go in there and arrange things the way you want. The policies that we're going to have available for WorkLife can be associated with each number, and controls applied to protect the corporate identity that's associated with your brand. Okay, so this means that the phone number belongs to your company, and it's not something that is like just assigned to a physical SIM card. So if the if the employee quits or is terminated or something like that, they can't just walk away with the phone that they brought in and the SIM card that they brought in. You're going to be able to assign a virtual work number to a SIM card, and then that stays with you once they leave with the physical hardware and the physical SIM. Now, the way that this works, because I know that a lot of people are already asking questions about this, basically, it works on a set of network standards that are already supported by all 675 mobile operators that BlackBerry works with. Okay, so this is something that does not require extra hardware all across the board or anything like that. It's something that rides on top of existing technology already that we've been able to work with and improve upon. So it doesn't rely on anything like sponsored data. You don't need any special VoIP app or something like that. It's something that's built-in technology to the service that we're providing and the app that we're providing, and it runs on top of the infrastructure that's already existing around the world. Okay, so nothing additional that any carriers have to do or anything like that above and beyond what we're going to be giving them. So in other words, it's really a seamless experience. It helps to keep the billing relationship right between the company and the service provider at all times, and it doesn't put the user in the middle of that so that the user has to shuffle around and try to get you their paperwork and then try to get a proper bill and then try to remove something from the bill. It's just going to be a relationship that exists between your company and the service provider. Now let's talk about BlackBerry Blend, which is getting quite a lot of attention in the industry right now. BlackBerry Blend, again, is something that we built because we understand a lot of challenges. For example, finding faster ways to work, ensuring security and control, reducing complexity, keeping costs low, allowing your employees to work on the devices that they choose, and for all intents and purposes, we're trying to make it more simple for your users to move back and forth between mobile and their desktop. because the average user has to do that quite a lot throughout the day, and we want to make it an easy experience for them, something that they do and don't even think about it, or they do because they know that it's going to be more beneficial for them and more efficient for them to work in that way. So let's talk about how BlackBerry Blend solves that challenge. First of all, BlackBerry Blend is going to bring you together as far as your experience with messaging and content. So when you have your smartphone and your desktop in close proximity, basically what you can do is you can bind them together, you can create a bond between them, and because of that, on the desktop you will get instant notifications. You can read and respond to your work and personal emails from the desktop client. You can read and respond to BBM and text messages. You can access your documents, calendar, contact, and media. And you can also access your email and work files. And all of this is done on the desktop through this BlackBerry Blend solution without the need for VPN, which is a huge, huge key advantage for you. So all of this occurs on your computer and your tablet. We were also thinking about this during design time, and we said, there's people who are not always going to be at a physical desktop wired in. We need to make sure that this solution also works on modern tablet technology. So when people are working and walking around the office with tablets, we want to make sure that BlackBerry Blend can operate just as well on that tablet as it does on your Windows or Mac. So we have done that. Again, no wires. You have no requirement to save to a cloud or anything like that. You don't have to transfer information between your device and your computer. It creates that bond, and it's instantly there as soon as you tap into it. So what you can see on the slide there on the right hand, I have it running on a tablet. BlackBerry Blend is basically like, if you remember the concept of BlackBerry Bridge, it's very similar to that. So you know when you used to pair your device via Bridge, and then on your other device you'd be able to see everything that was happening on your phone in all of the apps? This is a very similar concept. So think of it like this. You're pairing your phone with your desktop or tablet, and then you can use your tablet as the authority, and it will be manipulating all of the supported apps on the phone. So on your tablet, you could be responding to your work email, you could be in BBM, you could be texting, you could be doing all of that because it's connected dynamically to your phone and sort of working in concert with your phone to be able to let you do all of the activities on your phone from your desktop or tablet. So again, you can access all of your data on either PC, Mac, iPad, or Android tablet. And if you're an administrator or you work on the help desk, there's some IT policies that you can set to govern the behavior for BlackBerry Blend, and you only have to set the IT policies once. There's no requirement for you to send them out repeatedly to users. There's no requirement for you to, as a user, save sensitive information into the cloud or anything like that. There's no wires or anything. So again, it's a bond that you're making between the mobile device and the desktop or tablet. And once that bond is broken, or you disconnect, all of the data does not persist. Okay, so that's a huge security advantage for you as well. Okay, it's no muss, no fuss. So here's another screenshot that I have of it here. It's not a full screenshot. You can see it on the right-hand side there, but you can see there that when you have it open on one of your devices, either your tablet or your laptop, your desktop, or something like that, you're going to be able to see a whole view. And I will suggest that you go to our website, BlackBerry.com, and just search for BlackBerry Blend for some full screenshots if you want to see them. But you're going to get a full screen view of your device. Okay, so you're going to see, how many of these messages you have, how many text messages you have, how many BBM messages you have. You're going to be able to click into sub-applications like your email, and then you're going to be able to see an email view with your pane structured view of your email inbox. You're going to be able to respond to text messages. You're going to see, dynamic notifications come into this app on your desktop or tablet, just like they would on your phone. Now, people are pretty reluctant to do things like putting their personal email into their work computers. So one thing that Blend does for those kind of users that are in that bucket, it allows them to receive their personal notifications and check their personal email without touching their smartphone or integrating the email into their work computer. Okay, so this is something that's very, very cool. And again, this is something that's a cool thing to do if you're bringing your own device to work. Okay, so you may already have your own device with its own personal email attached to it that you've put on there. You don't necessarily want to add that to your work computer. You want to separate those things and divorce them from each other. But with this technology, you can still use and access your personal account and work account from the same device if you want to. And as soon as you're done, all the cleanup is done and nothing is left behind. So it's a really, really cool technology. So let me give you another overview of what the interface looks like here, okay? I've tried to map this out for you just to give you a step-by-step look at what things look like. So under step 1, you'll see that there's a dynamic infographic view of the number of messages you have in the hub. So you can see there in the top corner, it gives you, some circles there that tell you via the icon which app it's referring to, and then via the associated number, how many of those items you have for that sub-app. Okay, so you can see in there that for BBM, there's 10 there. For email, there's 17, and there's a few text messages there as well. So you're going to be able to see dynamically and visually how much of each item you have going on. Okay, so that's a cool thing that it does. To the right of that, you see that there's a window to email there. So in the email there, you're going to see things like all of your messages, ones that you've responded to, read, unread. You're also going to see in that pane view your BBM and text messages. So it basically acts like a little truncated version of your hub, but it shows you a little snapshot of everything at the same time. Right below the sort of dynamic infographic view there, on the bottom left, you're going to see a calendar view, and it's going to extend all across the width of the screen. And basically what that gives you is your calendar, not just the calendar associated with your email, but also your personal calendars as well. So if you have calendars associated with your social networks and stuff like that, or you have additional ones that you have added to your BlackBerry, all of these are going to be consolidated into this view here. Okay, so you're going to see all of that stretching across there, as you can see in the screenshot. There's visual alerts that tell you that, I have a meeting right now. You'll have sort of the next little moment in time mapped out for you in your time block so you can see where they are. And underneath that, you can see a quick launch bar. Okay, so that'll allow you to go and drill down even further into those sub-apps. So instead of seeing this sort of little snapshot in time of what your most recent things are that you see on the sort of top 3/4 of this view, on the bottom quarter, you're going to have the ability to click on these sub-apps and then go into full views of all of those apps. Okay, so you can see down there that you can get into your email, BBM, your text messages. You can then go into other things like your calendar, your file manager, and then into some other things as well. Okay, so you have the ability to drill down into these sub-apps and then get a full pane, full screen experience within the app, which is great. And then from within any of those apps, there's a home button that allows you to return back to this main dashboard here that's in the screenshot. Okay, so at any time, if you want to back out of your full screen calendar view, you can hit that home screen button and it'll take you right back to this dashboard where you can sort of see a central view of everything. Another thing that's great about BlackBerry Blend, I talked about it a little bit, but it's its platform agnosticity. Okay, so it works on the following host operating systems: Windows 7 and later, Mac OS X 10.7 and later, and iOS 7 and later, Android 4.4 and later, and BlackBerry 10.3 and later. Okay, so there's a lot of support for different platforms that are in the mobile enterprise right now. A lot of people are pretty much using it on every device you can think of right now. So there's a lot of adoption and a lot of fan appreciation for this app right now. I hear a lot about it. I see it in the communities. I hear direct feedback from you, and we're really, really pleased that you like this app. If you want more information about it, if you want more information about compatibility or setting it up and things like that, there's actually a dedicated vanity URL that runs off of our website, and it's at the URL at the bottom of the slide there. So the URL is www.blackberry.com/blend. Okay, if you go to that location, it'll give you a lot of good information about Blend and all of the sort of the collateral and the material that you need to understand how it works, what it looks like, what to expect, and that sort of thing. And then, of course, that location is going to give you the ability to download Blend and try it out for yourself. And I know that once you try it, you'll be hooked on it. So give it a try. Now let's move to talk about Enterprise Identity by BlackBerry. Now, what this is doing is giving you a streamlined access to everything. Identity and access is something that's fundamental to mobility. You can see in the slide there, I tried to put a lot of services that a single user may be connecting to. You and I all know that there's multiple ones that aren't accounted for on here, right? I mean, these are just a few key ones that I can think of, but there are, an unlimited amount of things that people can be connecting to in the cloud and things they need to authenticate to and different services they're trying to use, etc. So you can see there things like Dropbox, WebEx, Salesforce, Box, BBM, a bunch of the Google services, Office 365, BBM Meetings. All of these things are things that people might be using all throughout the day, where they have to validate who they are, authenticate, and there's a whole bunch of things that are involved with those interactions. So basically what we're doing through Enterprise Identity by BlackBerry is to control user access to apps and data, including the stuff that they are connecting to in the cloud, and we are basically centralizing and giving a more user-centric approach to that identity and access paradigm. So basically what our solution does is leverage our company's enterprise legacy to basically simplify access to these resources. So you get a single point of entitlement, a single point of control, and a single point of auditing for all of these things that you're connecting to. Okay, so that's basically the quick summary of Enterprise Identity by BlackBerry. So what are some common problems more specifically that this deals with? Things like entitlement, okay, and policies. I talked about this a moment ago on the previous slide. When you're going to put users out into the wild and have them connect to all these things, some of them are not entitled to connect to all of these things. They actually have to be entitled by you, okay? And that means that you have to log into something, you have to license something, and then they have to authenticate through that system. Also, there's going to be policies that you're going to want to apply to how users can access a system or how they can use an app or something like that. And then there's the managerial piece where you may want reporting and auditing to come out of those solutions so you can see how they're being used, how they're being accessed, who your heavy hitters are, who's not using it, and things of that nature. So you need things like that, and this is what this gives you. You can also use single sign-on for your users, which is a great benefit that I know a lot of you are interested in using. I've talked to many of you on the phone about single sign-on before, and I've also covered in previous webcasts. But for those who are uninitiated, SSO basically is the ability for you to sign on once to a system and then have your sign-on credentials be persisted across all the services that are associated with that account. Okay, so you could basically create an association, or those apps and services can have a built-in ability to check the credentials of the logged-in user and then just use them. So in other words, you can log into one console, and if there's other consoles you try to access after you've already provided your login information to the system, it will try to use that information instead of prompting you to put it in every time you switch. Okay? So this is a big, big thing. So you can use one account across all of your apps. You'll also have the ability to use your familiar credentials, so you won't be assigned a unique set of credentials to go into that system specifically. You can leverage the credentials that you're already using in your company, your Windows credentials or whatever it is that you use, and then you can just persist those across the apps, okay? So federation and management will occur in the cloud when you log in, and then you can tie all of that into on-premises directories like Active Directory, okay? So you can give your users a home, and you can make sure that you're tying into a directory structure that they're already existing in and authenticating to. Optionally, there's also the ability for you to use on-premises identity proxy, and that will allow you to sort of move and route things around with a little bit more flexibility. So another few data points that I wanted to talk to about this. There's no reliance on the BES, because the BES is not used for management in this scenario. You actually have to log into a cloud-based service, and that's where you're doing all of your stuff. Now, A future feature that we're going to have in the software is going to require Bez12, but that's going to be optional up until this point as far as the design currently goes. Now, it's fully client-side cross-platform, so you can use this solution in anything you can use a browser in, okay? Because it's a cloud-based solution, you just have to log into a service. It really doesn't matter what web browser you're using. Any of the modern major ones are going to support your ability to log in. That also means that because you can do it through a browser, you're going to be able to do it from pretty much any mobile device with a browser. So that means that this solution supports PC, Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, BlackBerry OS, that's the legacy OS, and also BlackBerry 10, Windows Phone, tablets, again, anything with a browser, okay? I haven't seen anything that this thing doesn't work on yet, just to give you an idea. So again, no reliance on phones. It's managed in a centralized way that you can log in from any browser, and that gives you the flexibility as an admin to go in there, whether you're in the office or outside of the office, and manage your users. So let me summarize the key features for you just so you get a good understanding holistically of the breadth of what I'm talking about here. So what you get with Enterprise Identity, federation of SaaS app identities, cross-platform single sign-on, which I talked about. You'll have access to policies to further govern the behavior. You get to leverage strong authentication mechanisms. You have the enterprise directory integration. So again, it integrates with AD, leveraging the AD structure you already have. There's no cloud directory copy or sync. There's a turnkey setup that's associated with the design and configuration. You get pre-federated services, strong mobile features. You get full auto-provisioning user lifecycles, standards-based app integration. So again, we're using standard protocols that these apps use to communicate with them. Pre- and post-employment handling, employee, partner, and customer control. Again, you get the audit logging and reporting that I talked about for compliance purposes and just, managerial reporting purposes. You get global scale and performance out of this solution. And because it leverages our infrastructure, you get the security and the redundancy around that. You get an agreement for 99.9% availability, which I know a lot of services and other providers can't offer you. You get to be able to manage BBM Protected and BBM Meetings. And lastly, you can trigger BBID password resets through this service as well, which I know is a big win for a lot of you. So again, as you can see along the bottom there, it's an enterprise-grade service. Very robust, very secure and reliable, very scalable. Not only that, it's cost-effective. You can start it up quickly. You can configure it quickly. There's a lot of pre-integrated apps in there that we've already partnered with, so it basically enables you to get up and running with some of the most common modern apps right away. And then it gives you a strategic advantage. So it puts everything in your mobile user's hands and your hands for configuration. It allows you to use the cloud to manage everything, and it's all based on standards, so you know there's going to be some consistency there as well. Now let's talk about SecuSUITE for BlackBerry 10. This is another exciting thing that a lot of people are buzzing about right now. So basically, as you well know, there's a lot of chatter in the industry and has been for the last little while about surveillance and spying and hacking and stuff like that. What this offers you right here, this product and service that I'm talking about today, this SecuSUITE product, and I've put a little screenshot in there of it on the right-hand side there. It basically combines modern smartphone technology with highly secure mobile communication. So basically what it does is provide end-to-end protection against electronic eavesdropping. So it allows you to protect yourself against third-party attacks for voice calls and data in transit and at rest. Okay, so what that means is data that's on the fly and is actually moving is going to get protected, and data that is just resting by itself on your phone is going to be protected as well. Okay, so it includes things like your texting, your calling, email, calendar, contacts, all of that stuff is all protected under this solution. You can see there in the little screenshot that I have there, the little picture, that it's involving the use of a proprietary secure SIM card for your users. So once they put that specialized SIM card into the device, that activates or helps activate the solution, and that helps everything get up and running. Now, why is this important? I don't know if I have to underscore this really, but like I said, the world right now is a very strange place as far as hacking and eavesdropping and spying and stuff like that. And there's a big demand in the industry right now, in multiple industries right now, for security and protection from that sort of intrusion into user privacy. One of the first customers that we have ever as a company were governments around the world. And the reason why they turn to us again and again is because of our pedigree for security, right? Most of you know that security is the bedrock of BlackBerry, right? It's not an afterthought for us. It's built into everything that we do. Every time we come out with a new service or feature or phone or software update or whatever, we've also integrated things that help enhance the security. This is something that we always think of at design time. It's not an afterthought that we staple on, right? So this solution is another one that was built for and is currently trusted by world governments. Some of them are already using it now. Many more are trialing it, and they have nothing but great things to say about it. It's just a really good product. It's designed to meet the most stringent needs because, again, governments and other governing bodies that really need this type of thing, they can't just say, oh, it's a secure phone, now I can use it. This secure phone and secure technology needs to meet certain standards and requirements. And these are very strict requirements. You can read about this on our website when you look up this service, or if you want to look up the certifications that we have in general. But it's a very rigorous process. And some of these take, 1 to 2 years for us to go through. Some of them take, under a year for us to go through. And some, a month or two, if we're lucky, but that's rarely the case. So we actually have to meet a whole bunch of standards that are very rigorous. And when we go through the motions of getting and achieving those certifications, that really gives credence to what we do. So this is an end-to-end solution. It meets all the requirements of things like governments and other verticals that are very careful about security. The German government is one example of a recent one that we've been working with that had a need for this type of solution and is very excited to work with us on it. It's been selected, in fact, by Germany's Federal Office for Information Security because of how well it works for protecting their classified communications. And so their highest public officials, all the way to the highest part of their office in their government, use this solution right now. And they use it across the globe with some other agencies that we work with as well. VPN Authentication by BlackBerry is another exciting thing that we have going on right now. I know it's very rare for you to talk about mobile users and how they work without talking about VPN, because they need to access the office for a lot of things. So let's get into what we are offering under VPN Auth. So there's no upfront cost with VPN Auth. There's no more lost key fobs or those pesky password resets that the help desk gets called about every other day or multiple times a day if it's a big organization. You're basically turning your managed iOS, Android, and BlackBerry devices into security tokens themselves, and you're getting rid of the key fob. So for all of you people that are walking around with the other extra key fob, the RSA token or whatever, attached to your keychain or attached to your lanyard or something like that, you don't need that anymore, and it's a huge win. VPN Auth basically streamlines your access to corporate data and apps when your employees need it, and again, no need for extra hardware or anything like that. Your users basically use their current mobile device that they're already used to using and pretty much always have with them as their VPN token. So let's do a quick comparison. I wanted to put this together for you just so you could see the advantages, disadvantages contrasted right beside each other. Left-hand side is the typical legacy one-time password token fob that you use for VPN. Right-hand side, the new modern VPN Authentication for BlackBerry service that we're offering now. So on the left-hand side, under the traditional legacy fob technology, it's not really a good user experience. And I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to boost our product. I am a VPN user. I've been a VPN user for a long time. I'm not just talking about it. It's not a great experience. You need to remember the fob, which I don't always do. I moved it from being in my pocket to putting it on my key ring, and sometimes I forget my keys, and then I can't connect to anything. It's just not a good experience. On top of all that, having to have it physically, you need to remember an additional PIN code that you have to put in on top of what's dynamically displaying on the fob. Sometimes the fob runs out of battery and you can't get the extra code, or you forget your part of the code and then you have to call the help desk. You manually have to take that and copy it in and stuff like that. And then there's a timeout cycle associated with it as well, because they're constantly cycling the codes that are displaying. So if you miss the one that's on the screen when you first pick it up, you then have to wait for the next one to come up and then see how long that's valid for. So again, a lot of user experience issues with that. Also, there's high IT support costs, because there's a lot of people that are calling the help desk asking for assistance with using the VPN. Sometimes they can't connect to it even though they usually can. Sometimes they can't find their fob and need them to assign them a static code or a temporary static code for them to use in the meantime. Sometimes they need to reset the code because they can't remember it. Things like that are huge time-wasting problems. And again, I'm not just talking about it. I've lived through it. I continue to live through it until I got this solution. And right now, life is good. Another thing that you may encounter as a problem traditionally is not being allowed with cloud or mobile strategies that you may have in your organization. Okay, so typically there's additional hardware or servers that you have to bring into your environment on-prem and manage, which is something that we don't do in VPN Auth for BlackBerry. And it's not always managed through the cloud. There are some solutions where you can log into a web interface, but then, because there's an on-prem need for servers there, sometimes you have to loop back and talk to the server that's in-house, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's move to talking about VPN Auth for BlackBerry. So it's much easier to use. Rather than the poor user experience of trying to remember a fob and bring it with you and try not to lose it and all of this stuff, you're already using the smartphone that you have with you daily, without any problems. You don't typically leave your BlackBerry or your other phone at home. Now, it's a possibility, obviously, because you can forget anything at home. But a lot of people are more likely to have that smartphone with them every day beside them than they are to have that key fob, because it's out of sight, out of mind a lot of the time, whereas their smartphone isn't. There's no additional PIN to remember because you already have everything built into your smartphone. You don't have to try to remember your code or your PIN or anything like that. And it reduces your IT costs, okay? So you don't have to get calls to the help desk for PIN resets. You don't have to bring in additional servers into the environment or anything like that. Everything is auto-provisioned within the BES, okay? So it uses your already existing BES in the environment and then just piggybacks off that and helps authenticate and provision through that. This uses the mobile strategy that you already have deployed, again, because you already have some BlackBerry stuff in there. It's just leveraging that. And it's managed through the cloud, through an IT-based console, okay? So you don't have to have, again, the on-prem server that you have to do another login through or anything like that. Everything is centralized and managed through the cloud for you, again, meaning that you can hit it from anywhere. Now, how does it work? Just to give you a very brief synopsis here, this is what it looks like. So on the left-hand side, you can see the user with their devices, and on the bottom is their screen, okay? So starting at the very top, at the yellow part, the user from their phone, when they want to connect to VPN, needs to initiate a request or from their mobile device. And basically their mobile device says something to the effect of, VPN server, let me in. And this is not to be confused by little pig, let me come in. It's nothing like that. It's actually very complicated under the hood. It actually is challenging the back end to try to tell you something. So the server does not respond with, not by the hair of my chinny chin chin or something like that. It actually comes back and says, yes, you're allowed to get in. Okay? The next thing that happens is that the VPN Auth solution is going to challenge the user and say, is it really you? Is it really you? And then after that, the VPN Auth is going to get the authentication that it needs and send it back to the phone. Okay? So you can see on the screen there that despite my really bad jokes, the VPN request is going to go through. Okay? So you can see on the screen there that it shows full screen on the device that there's a VPN request that's in progress. It actually gives you a timed countdown for you to be able to accept the request and the challenge that's coming in. And then again, that basically takes you right out of having to put in a PIN, having to remember a fob, having to do any of that stuff. It just makes it very easy for you. So all you see on your phone is, I'm making a VPN request. VPN request is asking for authorization. I'm giving it to you within this amount of time, and then right away it'll say VPN request accepted, VPN request authenticated, you're through. Okay? Very seamless process. I've been using it for months and months and months now. Couldn't be more than happy with it because it's excellent. Okay, so that's a quick rundown of what the flow looks like. Now there's different policy levels that are available to meet the different levels of security tolerance that you might have. Okay, so obviously this is a two-factor situation that we're talking about here. Your password is going to be the first factor, so that's going to be your phone or Active Directory. Second factor is going to be your phone. Okay, so iOS, Android, and BlackBerry are going to be your second factor, where then it challenges you to go through that process. Okay. So again, step 1 is your simple device password, and then you're going to have step 2, which is your attempt to VPN access your endpoint, and then step 3 is going to be accepting the request on the phone. Okay. So you can see there that there's a few different IT policy levels that you can implement. The first is simple device password, which just works the way that I just explained. So you're unlocking the phone with your password at any time. You can attempt to access the VPN and then accept request, and that's just your 1, 2, 3 step solution. Okay. For forced password, this is for BB10 and legacy BBOS only. You're going to be able to attempt VPN access on your endpoint, re-enter the phone password even if it's unlocked, and then accept your request on the phone as your third step. And then if you want to enforce AD credentials first as your policy, as step 1, you would attempt to VPN access to your endpoint. For step 2, you would then have to enter your AD credentials. And then for step 3 is when your phone helps you accept the request. Okay? So again, very, very robust solution. Very simple as far as the front-facing user experience, but the back end, very complex, but very, very easy to manage with multiple levels for you to apply if you want. Here's some more things that I wanted to shout out to you as far as key benefits of using VPN off. So again, it's cross-platform, so you can use it on any of the devices listed there, including Windows Phone in the future. It's high availability, so it builds into your existing structure for redundancy. You can have an on-premise proxy server there if you want to as well, optionally. It supports industry-leading VPN solutions that you have right now, so Cisco ASA, things like Juniper Secure Access, radius-capable VPNs are what we support through this solution. It supports public key infrastructure-based authentication, and that may differ a little bit in behavior depending on what you're using as far as your platform, but it supports it. It will support any client platform, so it works transparently across PCs, Macs, Linux, tablets, anything that supports a VPN client, okay? And then it's easy to set up. So the radius hookup works very simply for you to hook into your existing VPN server. It will allow you to configure your users and deploy your VPN profiles very easily. So these are the key benefits that you get out of the solution. Some other key points for you to remember about it: it's monthly per user subscriptions to use this. It's billed annually. You can get large volume discounts if you want to buy in bulk, which is good for you big enterprises that want to save some money. It's priced competitively versus your traditional one-time password, soft and hard token solutions, and I'll talk about that in a minute. There's zero startup costs. There's no perpetual license fees or anything like that. It's typically lower and much lower ongoing costs. For example, it could be 50% cheaper than using RSA. Over 3 years, you'll get a substantially lower total cost of ownership just through the independent studies that have been done, plus our own studies. And again, it gives you a cost advantage over traditional OTP solutions because there's no password resets required. Okay, that alone is going to save you calls to your help desk, which alone indirectly is going to save you support costs. Okay, so you can save a lot of money per month through this. BBM Protected. I'm going to end off by talking about BBM, so Protected and Meetings. So protected is the first thing that I'm going to talk about here. Basically, to give you a little bit of insight into where we are at with BBM, it's a very, very large and highly engaged mobile audience, okay? So we're talking 72% of the monthly active users are active on a daily basis in this solution and on this service, which is a very rare thing, okay? It's rare air. 75% annual growth on iOS and Android, which means that it's not just a BlackBerry solution. Obviously, we've made BBM cross-platform, and it is being used, quite a lot on other platforms. 200 million registered users at this point, so it's quite sizable. It puts us up in that upper echelon of the messaging services that are out there right now. 91 million monthly active users, 36 billion messages sent per day. That's billion with a B. And 9 hours spent messaging weekly. So the people who are using it a lot. They're sticking to it. They're sending quite a lot of information throughout it, the day on it. And I'm just talking about messages and stuff like that in the service on these data points. That's not even counting the people who are actually sending and transferring stuff through the service and buying things in the service and things like that. Okay, that's a totally different animal. But these are just some key things for you to remember about where we're at with BBM. Now, BBM for end users and BBM for enterprise is a different thing in modern times, okay? When BBM first came out, it was a consumer-related thing primarily, extended into the enterprise use-wise. But nowadays, we're creating some space between these things, okay? So BBM for Bez users is going to give you traditional BBM, one-to-one chats. You may have multi-person chats or group chats. It's still going to give you privacy and control. You could do things like retract messages, use timed messages and things like that. You could have BBM voice conversations, use BBM channels, and there's going to be ads in there as well, which some of you already seen. And I've heard from some of you that you don't like it, but they are there. You can use BBM payments, which we're doing in certain places around the world. That is using BBM to transfer money or to pay things. And then, as I just mentioned, within BBM, there's a shop where you can buy virtual goods like stickers and things like that. And you can transfer minutes and things like that. Now, BBM for enterprise, on the other hand, because there's some need in the enterprise for those things plus more. In the enterprise, you're going to get things like BBM Protected. You're going to get BBM Meetings. You're going to get Protected Plus. You're going to get Secure Voice. And I'm going to dig into what some of those things are right now, okay? So BBM Protected is going to give you enterprise-grade messaging between all of your devices that you're supporting. So iOS, Android, and BlackBerry. Okay? BBM Protected is basically giving your end users the full features of consumer BBM, but also giving them the security that you want and the protection and privacy that you want. Okay? So whether you're a regulated business or you're just a security-conscious company or something like that, you're going to get to benefit from using BBM Protected. It allows you to have everything that you already enjoy with BBM, but in an even more secure bucket than you're already used to with BBM. It already builds on the core strengths that we have as a company, so you can get into tapping into auditing and stuff like that. But the cost to you is going to be $29.95 per user, billed on an annual basis. So just to distill that down into 3 data points, for security, you're going to get end-to-end PGP-like standard encryption. You're going to get the encryption keys held within your company. And this already works with Bez logging and auditing, like I just mentioned, okay? So that's under your security bucket. Under your convenience bucket, you're going to get no complex, costly server federation, which I know some other solutions require you and mandate you to have. You're going to have no new console to learn. You're going to just be able to use everything that you're already using now. And it's not dependent on any company infrastructure. Okay, so you don't have to put any new moving parts into your organization to get this to work. In the user experience bucket, you're going to get the full consumer experience and feature set that they already have with BBM, plus more. So you're going to get messages inside and outside the company able to be protected with it. So it's not something like, the old days where we used to have protected PIN messaging and stuff like that, where you could only message people in your company with that dedicated secure PIN encryption key. This allows you to message inside or outside of the company, but still remain protected. Okay, so it's a very, very robust but simple and accessible tool for you to have inside and outside the company. Again, you can protect data in transit, so that means that we are the only secure IAM product that uses FIPS 140-2 cryptographic libraries. Okay, so security is something that we care about. I know that IAM is very, very popular in consumer space. It's also popular in enterprise space, but in the enterprise space, we care more about the security of those conversations than people do in the consumer world. In the consumer world, they can still use BBM and still be secure. But in the enterprise space, we really want to be the de facto standard, and we are the de facto standard in enterprise messaging and securing those messages. Okay? So BBM Protected basically is introducing a new layer of encryption to BBM security and the security model. Basically, like I said, the solution is basically very PGP-like. That's what the model is like. And the sender and the recipient are basically given unique public-private encryption and signing keys. Now, those keys are generated on the device by the FIPS 142 certified library that I talked to you about earlier, and it's controlled by the company. Okay, so this is something that's all within your control to manage. BBM and BlackBerry are not involved at all in brokering that exchange of keys. So at no time are they stored within our infrastructure. We're not going to be jeopardizing your ability to have privacy or anything like that, okay? Each one of the messages that's transferred uses a new random symmetric key for encryption, again, making it even more secure, okay? So it's not one key that you're using, increasing the likelihood that if somebody gets access to that, which they have to jump through 100 hoops to get in the first place, if they do that, it's not going to matter because each message uses a new random key. Then we use a triple DES 168-bit BBM scrambling key to encrypt messages on the sender's smartphone, and it's used to authenticate and decrypt messages on the recipient's phone. Okay, so all of this is done during the conversation and using triple DES with a high level of bitness. Okay, so 168-bit. Also, TLS encryption is used between the smartphone and the BBM infrastructure, and that helps the BBM messages be protected against eavesdropping or any sort of manipulation that could occur maliciously in that conversation, okay, or outside of that conversation trying to listen to it. Now, this is just a slide that I put together very quickly here to just show you some of the benefits on one slide. So again, secure at rest and transit. No extra installs for you to do. Okay, so you could use your existing hardware and software. You don't have to purchase anything more to support BBM Protected. It's easy to deploy. Okay, all you have to do is enable it and disable it via BES IT policy. That's it. And it's seamless, right? So your security is happening in the background. There's no impact to the BBM user experience, really, that the user is going to be impacted by. They may see a couple things visually that are different when they're typing, and that's it. And effectively, you're using one app to securely message your work colleagues as well as your family and friends. So once you have BBM Protected running for a user, they can do personal or corporate messaging, and everything is going to be secured and auditable. Okay, so that's something that's a huge benefit for you. Again, like I talked about, BBM Protected uses 3 layers of security for in-transit communication and encryption. And you can see there that I put on the bottom of the slide there what this sort of looks like as far as a visual model. Okay, so you see the TLS transport layer encryption, you see the BBM triple DES message encryption, and then the advanced encryption that we have there. So it's 3 layers of encryption that you're getting, which is a huge thing. For those of you who are really, really caring about encryption and security and privacy and things like that, this is right up your alley. Now let me quickly end off by talking about BBM Meetings. BBM Meetings is a cloud-based collaboration tool that we've come up with. Again, it's leveraging BBM and its associated technology. What this is it allows you to collaborate with your coworkers. Okay, basically what you can do through this tool is you can schedule, host, and participate in meetings. It's been designed from the ground up and optimized for a mobile experience. So what this means is that your participants, if they're licensed and entitled to use BBM Meetings, they can join BBM Meetings from their mobile devices, phones, or computers. It basically is going to allow them to do things like switch a meeting from an existing BBM chat. So if you're talking with somebody on BBM, you can go right into having a BBM meeting right from that chat. It's just a button press. If you're in a BBM video chat, voice chat, or some type of group chat, which I'm always in because I have a lot of groups that I'm on BBM, you can go right to a BBM meeting right from those things, right? So you don't have to back out of an app, then open another app, and then try to launch something through some defined sequence. You can join and initiate and start a BBM meeting right from the most common locations you're going to be in your phone. You can also share screens, you can share documents, you can create notes that everyone can see. You can easily join meetings by answering a call. So the phone system will call you once it knows that you've had a scheduled meeting on the go. There's nothing to remember like conference IDs or passcodes or anything, which is a huge, huge win, because for those of you who are used to joining meetings and stuff now using the traditional system, it's a pain in the behind. And I know that I'm not really emphasizing that enough. You guys know as well as I do that when you're trying to join meetings while you're mobile, it's a huge pain. You have to try to remember how to dial into the meeting. Then you have to remember the passcode for the meeting because somebody might not have put it into the subject line. So then you have to go into the body and try to find it. They might not have integrated it into a one-click, so you have to go and try to find it. Or if they haven't put it in there, you have to message somebody to try to get the passcode. Passcode could be wrong, and then it won't let you into the meeting. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong, and I know that this is life for many of you on the phone. So you'll be happy to hear that there's no passcodes and no conference IDs that are required in this solution whatsoever. Any of your meetings can include HD video and voice conferencing, and it works for up to 25 participants. So you may have some huge meetings where, that's not enough. But for most meetings that we've done analysis on, and a lot of other people have done analysis on, most meetings are going to be 25 key people or less. And, the key thing there is key people or less. There's probably a lot of people that don't need to be there, a lot of people that need to be there. But in any event, the solution allows you to do your video conferencing for up to 25 participants. To start or schedule a meeting using BBM Meetings, the host requires a meeting subscription, and that can be purchased from the BlackBerry Enterprise Store. Okay, so you can just go to our website, search for the BlackBerry Enterprise Store, and then you can make a purchase to be able to host the meetings in there. Here's some more key features for you, okay? So you can, for access control, you can access BBM Meetings using enterprise identity. So earlier I talked about how this was a new solution that allows you to centralize management, and you can manage BBM Meetings using that solution. So you can securely determine what users can participate in BBM Meetings, like who's entitled to do it and who isn't. As far as end-to-end encryption, it encrypts all data using AES 128-bit encryption. And then, like I said, it uses enterprise identity. Okay, so all users can be assigned identifiers that are personal to them and are tied to BlackBerry ID that they're already using. So only authenticated users are going to be able to send and receive data. Okay, so again, security built right in from the ground up. The supported devices for BBM Meetings are BlackBerry 10, version 10.2.1 or later. Users that are on iOS have to have iOS 7 or later. And we're going to have an app in the store that's going to come soon. For iOS, you need version 4.0, which is ice cream sandwich, or later. There's no support currently for gingerbread, just so you know that. The minimum host computer requirements for BBM Meetings are Mac OS X 10.6.8, which is Snow Leopard, or later. And if you're running on a Windows PC, we have quite a broad range of support for Windows. So Windows XP with Service Pack 3 or later, Vista with Service Pack 1 or later, Windows 7, Windows 8.1, and Windows 8. Okay, so all of the major versions of Windows within the last decade are supported. Now, if you want some more collateral on this, some more information about it, the public location of BBM meeting support docs is listed right on the slide deck there. I just grabbed the Canadian one there, so apologies to you guys that are around the globe right now that are dialed in. There may be country-specific ones for you that you can get to, but if you go to BlackBerry.com, under Enterprise and under Products, you'll find BBM Meetings, and then there'll be a country-specific URL for you there. But this one is just an example of one that you can get to, okay? Now, again, just to underline some of the things with BBM Meetings that we were trying to solve. Scheduling meetings from a mobile device is a pain. So this affects your productivity because meetings might be scheduled without key people that you need to be there. Okay, so you can see on the slide there that I showed you a visual representation of the traditional way of trying to get people in a meeting, right? You have to email them, and then on the GoToMeeting, you have to try to send them a meeting invite for them to try to click to with the current info that you have. And trying to do all of that from a desktop is a hassle. Trying to do all of that from a mobile device is an even greater hassle. Trying to join meetings from a mobile device is complex and unreliable. And like I said earlier, you already know this. Okay, I don't have to really tell you, but this is the truth. You're trying to load your audio connection. You're trying to connect to a web interface. You may not start on time because you can't get in. And all of this, often ends up in people that are missing the meeting, or the meeting is starting 10 minutes after when it's supposed to. And people, joining at these staggered times, and people having to repeat information and all of this stuff is costing you lost time and lost productivity. Again, while you're mobile, your ability to share, view, and interact with the presentation materials is very, very limited. Okay, because once you're mobile, you might be driving or something like that, and for you to be able to interact and do things is very uncommon, right? So if you join from a mobile device, you can see in the WebEx screenshot that I have there, they're going to be able to know as the host that you joined from a mobile device, and then right away they know that they can't do things with you, right? Like that's the common perception. So again, it affects your productivity because as a mobile user, you might not be able to review or share important information. Obviously, when you're driving, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. But if you're a mobile user that's just, ducked into a conference room, or you are at a cafe or something like that, a lot of times you can't do some of the same things that you would at your desk. And that's a negative. Enterprise collaboration itself is also very expensive at many levels. Okay, I put a little example there of how much it costs for some of the things that you're doing with the leading providers. And this provision here affects your productivity because at the pricing structure that you're bought into, you might not be getting all of the features that you need, right? Your users might be missing key things that they could be using to collaborate better with each other. So let me show you what BBM Meetings kind of looks like on other devices and our devices, okay? So you quickly can turn any chat into a meeting like I said earlier. You could be right in a BBM chat. You can see that there's 4 people in the chat there. And then right away, you just click a button, and you're going to be able to have the meeting right away, okay? And it's really just a couple taps, and you're already having a meeting with somebody and having a visual with somebody. It's a very, very cool solution that, again, you can get to from a whole bunch of typical places within your phone without having to back out and open another app or anything like that. Everything is integrated. You can see that scheduling a BBM meeting is easy. You can do it in 3 steps from your mobile phone. Right in there, you can go in, open up BBM Meetings. You can hit Schedule and Next. And then you can just add participants that you want to add as a guest. And then you just have to choose time, okay? Because it comes up with a calendar thing there for you where you can actually put in the time that you want to put in, and it allows you to leverage the calendar you want. And then that's it. You just send it from your device. Okay, it's seamless, it's easy, and it's very, very, very improved over the previous system that we use now. Okay, it's far less cumbersome than trying to do everything now. When I want to host meetings, it's always I need to dedicate some time to doing this properly. Okay, I need to log into this other system. I need to make sure that the title and everything is accurate. I need to make sure that I get all of the conference codes. Then I need to put that. Copy that from that system into another system, potentially. I want to format it differently because I don't like how it comes out of the system. Like, there's a whole bunch of things that this negates, right? It just allows you to have 3 very simple steps to start a meeting with somebody. Furthermore, BBM Meetings will call you when it's time to meet. Okay, so you can just go in there, you can see there, you have a BBM meeting scheduled. It's Project X-Ray. Then you can see for Project X-Ray, it gives you a phone call that comes in. It may not look exactly like it shows on the screenshot there, depending on what phone you use. Your call screen might look different, but you get the gist. You can see the call comes in, and then right away you accept it, and then you're connected. Okay, well, right away, this person has joined the meeting. Okay, so you go right from, hey, the meeting starts in 2 minutes, to the meeting is starting right now, you're being called, answer the call, you're in the meeting. Okay? And it couldn't be any more easily stated than that. It's a simple, easy way to get this collaboration stuff, the configuration related to it, out of your way, and just let you focus on the collaboration part of it and not the configuration part of it. Okay, so it's a very good solution. We use it a lot internally. A lot of customers are using it and liking it. And I hope for those of you who haven't used it yet, you'll take some time to check it out, and I know that you'll like it too. Now, how to order BBM meetings. The order for BBM meetings is basically placed by customers or your company through the means that they already have. They may have a sales rep or something like that that works on behalf of them or on behalf of you. So what you do is configure your customer or your user on the BlackBerry Cloud ID platform. So that's going to be through Enterprise ID. And then at that point, you're assigned a temporary username and password for you that's provided by us. You can go in there and change that whenever you want to using the Enterprise ID platform. And then the entitlement is performed using your corporate email address. So once you put all of that information in there, you can then entitle the user to use BBM meetings. And then they can host at that point. Now, a user that's entitled is going to get an email that gives them the link that binds their BBID to their corporate email address, and then they'll have the access at that point to schedule and host and all of that stuff. Now, end users without a BBM meeting license can still join meetings, but can't host one. Okay, so that's the caveat. You have to be licensed and entitled to host a meeting. Now, just to end off the webcast today, I wanted to give you a couple reminders that are important. First one is that we have severity-based routing as a company, as a support organization, that's going to become effective for all customers starting on Monday, February the 2nd. And to give you a couple quick bullet points about what that means for you, severity-based routing basically enables our support team to make more efficient use of our resources here and then to better serve you as customers. So our logic within our system is going to be able to recognize and determine who is calling in or who is on the phone right now for a very high severity critical issue that needs immediate attention for us to help resolve, and which ones are smaller or lower severity issues that are not needing the same sort of immediacy. Okay, so our system is going to be able to work seamlessly with our IVR system and determine all of those things. It's a deterministic system. And basically, it's going to allow our support agents to have the opportunity to handle your incoming cases with more precision. Okay, so again, for those of you who are going to be calling in after this date, once this is implemented, we can get on the higher severity issues faster, and we can give the lower severity ones more attention through a dedicated bucket that they get routed to. Okay, so we are basically using an internal scaling system. So that means that you as a customer are going to have direct phone support for your critical issues, while your non-critical ones are going to be routed through a triage where they're going to be handled at a lower severity, okay? So again, the transition to this is going to happen and become effective on Monday, February 2nd. If you want more information about it, you're going to get it in short order. There's some that's going to be posted to our website or may already be there by now, by the time I'm saying this. For those of you who get our monthly newsletters that some of my coworkers and myself write articles in, the Solve newsletter is going to have information about this as well. Some of you that are Premier customers are already probably getting some of this information from your support account managers. So I'm just blasting out this information through this means as well. But this is something that's going to come into effect again on Monday, February 2nd. So I just want you to know about it, okay? Other reminders are just more soft reminders. So make sure that you look to companies like us that have, literally invested a lot of time and energy into security and how to mobilize and how to better mobilize the enterprise. We are constantly on the lookout for feedback from you. If you have something that you want us to look at or consider, or if there's some bug or some behavior that you've noticed that you want us to investigate, let us know about it. We want to partner with you. We want to stand with you to make sure that your enterprise is moving and working correctly. So please let us know as soon as you can, okay? Okay, so as a couple other reminders, there's going to be a lot of people that are using our services that are, big, heavy hitters in the industry, including all of the people on this phone. We value all of you. We want to make sure that we are serving you properly. So make sure that if you have some tickets open with us, you're being diligent about giving us all of the information that you need to give us, and get on us if you're not getting what you need, okay? We really want to help you resolve any issue that you call us about, okay? Get some traction on it, let us know about it, and we'll be more than happy to get to the bottom of anything you bring to our attention, okay? So with that said, I'm going to move into a Q&A portion of the webcast. Just hold on for one moment, please.
Thank you for joining today's event. You may now disconnect your lines.
Oh, sorry. I think that was a miscue. I'm about to start the Q&A session right now.
No problem. Go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
No problem. All right. So, first question. How can we get the BBM Meetings application file to deploy via the BlackBerry Enterprise server? Okay, this is a good question. I actually didn't talk about this, so I'm glad that you brought this to my attention. If you need to push the BBM Meetings client to your users, you can find the app to download for BBM Meetings on the BlackBerry Download Center. So once you go there to the BlackBerry Download Center, the location is there that provides you the file that you need to put on the server to host it, okay, to push it out. And you're going to be able to find the download links there for Windows and Mac, okay? Another question, do we need a license to attend BBM Meetings? No. As I mentioned during the webcast, you only need a license to host BBM Meetings, okay? So you have to be entitled to host BBM Meetings, and all of that is done through the Enterprise ID platform that I talked about earlier. If you go to our website and go look at BBM Meetings or search for it, you're going to be able to find all the information you need, okay? Will there be appropriate IT policies for the new virtual SIM technology? Yes. Okay, so there's a handful of IT policies to govern the behavior of that virtual SIM technology. From memory, I think there's 4 or 5 policies that allow you to do some different things with it. But yes, there is going to be a handful of BES IT policies. They're going to be well documented, so if you haven't seen the documentation already, you will see it soon, and it will be very, very documented what you can do and what you can sort of enable, disable through IT policies for that. Question, we are not seeing the BBM Protected functionality after sending the BES policy. Actually, this is an issue that we have seen reported previously. I think on the tail end of last year we saw an issue like this reported by a customer. The way you work around it, because there might be some timing involved, basically what we had the customer do was restart EMWS, and then resend the IT policy to the affected users, and that sort of resolved the issue. Now, I don't recall off the top of my head if there was anything more to the issue than that, rather that it was anything more than a timing issue, but I do know that those are the workaround steps that we use going from memory. So again, if you have any issue using BBM Protected where you've enabled the IT policy for the user on the BES side and it doesn't look like it's taken effect on the client side, try working around it by restarting EMWS and then resending the IT policy. Okay, for the VPN solution, what data should be collected if we need to troubleshoot? That's a very, very good question. Okay, so let me see. If you are going to be troubleshooting the VPN solution, these are basically the debug logs that you're going to have to collect. If you have a VPN server, you're going to have to collect the client logs off of that. If it has a VPN client associated with it as well, you're going to have to get any of the logging associated with that. You're going to have to grab the core log from the BES. We're going to need you to submit to us your device logs from your BB10 device, if you're using a BB10 device. If you're using a third-party device, we're going to need the device logs from that device. Again, from the BES, we're also going to need your MDAT logs and your MDAT_web logs. And we may also need your MDAT_web_access logs. Okay, so your MDAT web access log. And then lastly, you're also going to need your BB2FA log. And that's going to come from your BB2FA radius server. Okay, and that's also known as your BlackBerry VPN server. Okay, so all of those things, what is that, 5 or 6 things, all of that logging is what we may require from you, from your side, to try to dig into this a little bit more if you're reporting an issue that you want us to help you troubleshoot. Okay, so all of that data needs to be collected. How does the security work for BBM Protected conversations? I gave a little bit of an outline of that during the webcast. It's heavily documented in security notes on our website. So if you go to BlackBerry.com and look up BBM Protected, there are links to the security documentation there. But basically how it works, just to give you a brief summary, just a bullet point. After the two parties have completed the key exchange part that I talked about, BBM Protected basically uses each one of the parties' long-lived signing key pair, and it basically uses that pair to digitally sign the messages and the encryption key pair to encrypt the messages and decrypt them. The session key that I mentioned earlier, that is the symmetric key that's shared by all conversation participants. So there's a lot of key exchanging going on, a lot of encrypting going on and all of that stuff. Again, for you to get some more information about it, go to our website at BlackBerry.com, and I think there's a dedicated URL at /BBM Meetings, and you can get to all of the information you need there. Also, I believe that you can also get to the security information going to our security website as well. Okay, one more question here. What will users see if they aren't entitled to host BBM meetings? That's a good question. So when logging into BBM Meetings, and if they attempt to host one, they'll get one of the following messages that displays. One is something like, you currently don't have host permissions for BBM Meetings. Please contact your administrator. The other one I can remember is, hosting a BBM meeting requires a paid subscription. Would you like to learn about BBM Meetings now? And I think that takes you to a site where you can sign up to buy the subscription, and then it gives you all the information about how to entitle users and all of that. So I think there's those two messages that your users might see. That's the end user experience. One just tells them that they're not entitled to use it, and that they should talk to their IT department to get more information about how to do it. And the other one basically says this requires an entitlement and directs you right to the site to get that. Okay, so that's the meeting information and the informational message that you get on the device, okay? Okay, so that concludes the webcast for today. Thank you and have a good day.